Okay, the purpose of this video is to take the 30,000 foot view that we just looked at in the last video and bring it down to where the rubber meets the road, illustrate exactly what it is that we're offering to people today. The first thing that we need to establish is that there are two distinct customer avatars for us here at CommonCare. The first would be a business with less than 50 employees, and the second would be a business with more than 50 employees. Why this distinction? Because the ACA mandates that employers with 50 or more full-time equivalent employees sponsor a group health plan. So as you can imagine, the way that we would approach a situation with someone who is not offering anything yet, and the way we would approach a situation where someone is already offering a solution to their employees, two different situations, two different problems to solve. We have solutions that we can offer both parties, but they are two distinct customer avatars. Let's start by doing a deep dive into the under 50 employee customer avatar. So what do we need to know about this customer avatar? First of all, since they have less than 50 employees, they're not mandated to sponsor a group health plan. That being the case, a lot of folks in this camp don't offer a group health plan. A lot of them have looked into it before, but it only took about 2 seconds to realize that with only 20 or 30 employees, the rates aren't much better than what their employees could just get on their own, and they just didn't see a scenario where it made sense to take that on. But that's likely because they only looked into traditional insurance solutions. Something else that you need to know about a business owner who's in this situation is that a lot of them, they feel pretty bad. Employees want something. They want some sort of health benefit. And whenever they hire someone, they have to have the same awkward conversation where the new hire is like, hey, do you offer any employee benefits? And the business owner has to just like awkwardly be like, no. And, someday soon, hopefully we're looking into it. They say the things that they say, but they feel bad and they wish there was a way that they could scratch that itch for people. And that's exactly what makes our solution for business owners in this situation such a no-brainer, because we agree with them. A lot of the traditional routes they've considered may be less than ideal. However, what we would tell them is that some of the best tax savings in the entire tax code are reserved for employers who allow their employees to get their health coverage through them, through the employer. That means that employers can set up a simple arrangement that allows their employees to keep purchasing with their own money, with the employee's own money. They can keep purchasing the same health insurance premiums that they're already paying for, or their out-of-pocket expenses, or whatever they're currently spending each month on healthcare. The employees can keep spending their own money on that through the employer plan, and both the employer and the employees get tax advantages for doing so. Now, there are other savings and other options available also, but that's the simplest explanation I can give you for our solution in the under 50 employer space. So as a quick summary, they can allow their employees to keep spending their own money on the healthcare expenses or health insurance premiums that they're currently spending money on, but by doing it through their employer, both the employee and the employer get tax advantages that they're missing out on. As an example, for a company with 30 employees, this would look like roughly between $30,000 to $45,000 in tax savings per year for the employer. Then for the employees, each of them is going to be saving around $1,000, maybe $2,000 in taxes. And then if they choose to take advantage of some of our optional add-on services, we could save them another $500 to $1,500 in actual medical expense costs throughout the year. So not life-changing money by any means, but enough that you'd be crazy to ignore it. And more important than the cost savings is the fact that now when you hire someone and they ask, hey, do you offer any health benefits? You can finally say, yes, we do. And the best part is that there's very little competition in this space relative to the over 50 space. And that's simply because all of the best brokers focus almost exclusively on the 50 plus category. The reason for that is if you were a broker, you would focus your time on the people who are mandated by law to offer something, rather than focusing your time on trying to convince someone to pay for something out of their own pocket just because of the goodness of their heart or whatever the pitches are that they use for the smaller employers. That makes this a very blue ocean for us. Now, the downside to working with smaller groups is that, they're smaller groups, and as a result, they don't pay as much per closed deal, which means that your commissions will be slightly smaller per deal on the under 50 groups. But there you have it. There's a quick overview of the under 50 employees customer avatar. So hopefully that gives you a good perspective into some of the pros and cons of working with this group. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the over 50 employee customer avatar. So these guys are actually almost the complete opposite of the previous avatar. For one thing, they're all mandated by law to sponsor a group health plan for their employees, and they're pretty good about following that law because the penalties for not are quite severe. Unfortunately, even though they're sponsoring one, most of these employers don't even know what the definition of a group health plan is. A lot of them think that a group health plan and group health insurance are the same thing, and they're not. A group health plan is what they're required to offer to their employees. Group health insurance could be a part of their group health plan, but it doesn't have to be. Now, why do we bring that up? Because group health insurance is one of the most expensive ways to execute a group health plan. And while it makes sense for some employees, rarely is group health insurance going to be the best option for every employee. Now, our approach with these guys is pretty simple. The first step is just to help them understand what a group health plan actually is. What are they actually required to do by the ACA? Shockingly, almost all of them can fulfill the requirements of the ACA and be completely compliant without purchasing health insurance and for a cost of between $0 and $100 per employee per month. Then, once our bases are covered and employees know that they're being compliant, if they want to be generous on top of that, we help show them how you can structure a group health plan to give your employees options rather than pigeonholing everyone into the same use it or lose it health insurance premium that's great for your least healthy employees and less than ideal for everyone else. The ACA is surprisingly open-ended, and there are plenty of more creative and flexible solutions for employers and their employees than most people realize. And the opportunity that we have to educate people about this and help them implement some of these more unorthodox solutions is huge. But here's the downside. This is a much more competitive space than in the under 50 world. And any employer that's been around the block a time or two, they've been hit up by brokers over and over again, promising cheaper rates. They've switched. The rates after everything have ended up being more or less the same, but it was a huge headache to get implemented. And so they're not eager to try something new. They've been burned before, and as much as they're not totally satisfied with the current solution, they just don't really want to open that can of worms again. They'd rather just leave things how they are. So as a quick recap of both customer avatars, on the one hand, we have the under 50 groups where they're sitting right on top of an awesome opportunity that they would love to take advantage of if only they knew it existed. Our job is simply to educate them, help them implement it, and give employers the opportunity to provide for their employees in a way that's meaningful, that at the same time has tax advantages for them. This is also a relatively non-competitive space, which is awesome. The only downside is that the commissions are smaller just because each deal is going to be worth less because they're smaller groups. Business owners with 50 or more employees are misunderstanding what the ACA requires them to do and are paying too much money for expensive solutions that only meet the needs of a few of their employees and kind of hang everyone else out to dry. Our solution in this space is to help them understand there's a whole world of possibilities for how they can structure these plans in ways that are cheaper and better meet the needs of their employees. It's a win-win all around. The downside is it is a competitive space, but the solution that we're offering has a bigger opportunity to do good, and the commissions are bigger just because these are bigger groups. At the end of the day, which customer avatar you choose to focus more of your time on will depend on your existing network, your circumstances, your priorities, and both are great options. And both of them will be able to reap the benefits of the ongoing open source data that we're publishing as we share which plan designs and structures are working best everyone will be able to share in the benefits of that, regardless if they're under 50, over 50, or anywhere in between. Don't ask me how someone could be between under 50 and over 50. I don't actually know. It just sounded like the right thing to say at the end of the segment.